These things here are absolutely huge. Let me put my hand behind that one right there, if you can see just how big that is. What's up, Lazy Dog fam? Hope all y'all are having an awesome day. It is Thursday, July 18th here in South Georgia, and on today's video we're going to do a little more figging around. We're going to focus specifically on some giant figs today. I want to show you some of the larger figs that we have in our orchard. Also going to talk about how fig size and color can vary a little bit from year to year, and then I'm going to show you or tell you how we make this delicious stuff right here. But before we look at some figs, I want to give you an example of just how tough fig trees are. I tell you that all the time, that fig trees are tough. They're hard to kill. That's not to say that we don't have some trees from time to time that get to a customer and die within the first few weeks of getting there for whatever reason. Doesn't happen that often, and we always send replacements when that does happen. But in general, fig trees are tough to kill. Let me show you this. So as many of you know, we ship fig trees all over the country except Arizona and California in boxes that look like this. And 95% of the time the trees arrive at their final destination and look great, no issues. But every now and then some of these parcel carriers will kind of drop the ball. Post office tends to drop the ball more than UPS does, but sometimes they drop the ball. Had this fig tree right here returned to me recently, and I opened it up and saw that this tree was actually shipped around June 11th to Orlando, Florida. So it's been left my house for quite a while now. So to the best of my knowledge, I thought this tree was just lost. The customer had already contacted me. I had already sent them a replacement, and then it showed up at my doorstep yesterday. So I had to open it up and see what it looked like. So this is an LSU purple tree, I believe. I already opened up the bottom of the box there, but I'll show you. Look at there. This thing is somehow still alive after being in that box over a month. The tip is still green. Looks like it wants to bud out there. Probably will now that it's got some light. The soil's really dry there. This thing's still alive. Still got a nice root ball on it. Now, as I told you earlier, out of all the trees we've shipped over the years, I have had a few croak in transit, but generally fig trees are really tough, and it's just crazy to me that this thing here is still green and alive. So I'm about to take the plastic off this, sit it over there with my other trees, give it some good water, and I might plant this one for myself just because it's so tough. I think it may deserve a spot in my orchard. So now let's walk around a little bit and see some of these more giant figs. And as we do this, you'll kind of notice a recurring theme that figs don't always look exactly the same year after year. Sometimes the color may be a little different. Sometimes the size may be a little different. I'll explain that in examples as we get to them. So the first giant fig on our list is this G.E. Neri variety here. This has been one of my favorites for several years now because it's so vigorous. It grows really fast, gives us some nice production, but these giant figs right here are what makes it really special. Now, going back to that recurring theme I mentioned earlier, in previous years, our G.E. Neri trees would give us a few figs this time of year, but it was more of a fall producer. In the fall, late summer, early fall was when we would get a really home run crop from the G.E. Neri trees. But this year we've been getting some really solid midsummer production from our G.E. Neri trees. I've got another one over there behind me. We've already eaten a decent amount of these and got a couple more there that are really close. The birds do tend to get after these a little bit because they're so big and bright and shiny, so we have to get them before the birds do. Now this one here, which was the ripest one I had on either of my trees at the moment, could stand to ripen a little bit more. These will get a little darker, a little softer. We had a viewer the other day comment talking about this particular variety, why they liked it so much, and I thought they made a really good point. So this is a sugar fig. The inside of that would be a lot darker if it was completely ripe. It's a sugar fig, but it's not as sugary sweet as something like a brown turkey. And some people don't like that really sweet brown turkey taste. I like it okay, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I actually like these a little bit better. So that's a big plus of the G.E. Neri in my opinion. If you like it sweet, but just not so sweet, this is a great variety. Still pretty good even though it's not completely ripe. Now over here on the other side of the orchard, we've got two of these Stella trees. Both of these trees are probably about, I don't know, 18 to 20 months old. They're not that old. This is a pretty popular, well-known variety, but I got to try my first Stella figs just a few weeks ago. And at max ripeness, these things here are absolutely huge. Let me put my hand behind that one right there, if you can see just how big that is. These have more of a bell shape to them than being round like the Gianeri, but these are some massive, massive figs. And so you can see again there just how big these things get, and the couple that I've picked and eaten already were actually bigger than this. So as they get completely fully ripe, they will get a little bit bigger. This one's a little soft, not quite there. I'll open it up and show you the inside there. So not necessarily oozing yet. I'll put up a picture on the screen here of one of the ones I ate a couple days ago, just as juicy as it could be. And to me, these kind of taste like strawberries a little bit. Really, really strong light berry flavor on these Stella figs, and don't take many of these to get you full. And then the last of the really, really big figs we've been eating lately is one of my favorites, this LSU Gold right here. This is such a reliable and consistent variety. That bigger tree right there is about 5 or 6 years old, I think. This tree right here is only about 18 to 20 months old. Look at the size on it, and we've been harvesting a lot of figs off it. Look at those two beauties right there. So by weight, this LSU Gold variety is the best performer in our orchard. Yes, we have other varieties that may give us more figs than the LSU Gold tree does, but if you consider just how big these are, we get more from those LSU Gold trees than we do any other tree. One thing you got to be a little bit careful with these, because they can get so big. If you're getting a lot of rain, or if you're watering really heavily, these things can get too big and split, and the eye kind of opens up there, and sometimes bugs will get inside. So we've had a lot of rain lately. I haven't been running my water at all, because I know I could probably split a bunch of these if I added some water on top of all the rain we're getting. So in case you've never seen this one before, delicious, delicious honey fig. I'll show you some jelly later that we made with some of these. Won't get much better than that. And back to that theme I was mentioning earlier about how fig color and size can vary a little bit from year to year. I was talking to Cajun Bee a month or so ago. We were talking about how our improved Celeste figs have a little lighter outside color this year. They're usually a little darker than they were this year. Still tasted great, just a little lighter. And here's another example of one being a little bit different this year. This is an Italian 258 tree, a variety we have really hard time keeping in stock, a variety everybody loves. This is a berry fig, and usually they're about normal size. Just look at that one right there. That's almost as big as some of those Gianeri figs. So it looks like these are going to be a lot bigger than they were last year. Could have something to do with all the water we've been getting lately. Here's another example. So this Salem white fig last year was just an average size fig, what I'd call a medium fig. This year, these things are considerably bigger. There's one there that the birds or the bugs done got into. That's a pretty good size fig. Got one right there that's just starting to ripen. It's also a pretty good size fig. So last year, my Salem whites were about the same size as that Salem dark right there. As you can see, this year they are considerably larger. So those are all examples of how fig color, fig size, and even fig production windows can vary a little bit from year to year, just depending on the weather you're getting. Now some of this I can explain, some of it I cannot. So if we don't get quite as hot and humid as we normally get during the summer, I could see where that could extend our production window a little bit on certain varieties. That would delay kind of the rust setting in, taking all the leaves off these trees, and maybe giving us a little longer production window. And I think the size thing is easily explained by ground moisture. We've been getting a ton lately. That would make sense why some of these varieties are bigger than they were last year. Doesn't make sense why some varieties are bigger than they were last year, but other varieties are the same size they are every year. I can't really explain that one. And as far as the color thing goes, I have no idea why those improved Celestes were lighter this year than they were last year. If you've got any guesses on that one, let me know. And then lastly, let's talk about how you can make some of this delicious stuff right here. I call it fig jelly, but it's technically fig jam, I guess. These are 2 batches we made, I think, this past weekend. Abram had his own batch he called Berry Blast, and then Titus had his own batch he called Honey Rush. Now, I'm not going to cook any jelly on this video, but I'm going to walk you through every step of the process. And one of the questions we've been getting a lot lately is, how many figs do I need to make a decent batch of jelly? So we put all our jelly in these jars or quart jars. I know you can find those little small jelly jars out there, but we'll go through one of those in the morning. So we use the pint jars and the mason jars. I like these because we give these away to teachers and stuff like that, coaches, and then we usually keep the big quart jars in the fridge for ourselves. So to make what I'd call a decent batch of jelly, really all you need is a bowl like this, just kind of a standard size mixing bowl full of figs. If you've got this full of figs, you can make a batch that'll give you about 6 of these pint jars here. Now, that's not enough jelly to last us very long, but most folks it is. And depending on what variety you're using, it may not take you long at all to get a bowl full. So for Abram's batch, we did mostly berry figs, which were kind of average, medium-sized figs. Took a lot more figs to fill up this bowl. For Titus's batch, we used a lot of those LSU Golds. Didn't take many of those at all to get a bowl full. So once you get your bowl full of figs, before you start the jelly making process, you need to cook down your figs a little bit. So I like to cut mine up before I cook them down. Here's an LSU Tiger fig. And for figs like this, all we do is just kind of cut that stem off right there. And these average size figs, we just quarter these up. So cut them in half one way, cut them in half the other way. Give us some nice quarters there. I think I'll eat one of those. And so usually quartering them up is good enough. On those larger figs, like the LSU Gold, like a Generi, probably want to cut those in 6, 8 pieces. Cut them up a little bit more since they're so big. And once I've got them all cut up, I'll just put them in a pot on the stove on low to medium heat. I don't want to scorch them. May even pour a little bit of water in there just to keep them from burning on the bottom. And I just want to cook them low and slow until they start to break down. I'll use something like a tater masher, kind of mash them down a little bit, get them broken apart. And how long you cook them just depends on what you want the consistency of your jelly or jam to be. I don't mind if mine's a little chunky, so I don't cook mine down completely to a liquid, but if you want it with no chunks in it, you can just cook it a little bit longer until you get it kind of all emulsified there. Then once you've got your figs cooked down, it's time to make the jelly. Now this is the pectin we use, the Sure Gel, low sugar. A lot of people also use the Pomona's pectin. I've used that before, but I can't find it that easily around here. I have to order it on Amazon. This stuff I can find at Publix pretty easily, so this is what we use. You don't need to use a high sugar recipe. These figs have plenty of sugar in them, and you don't want to dampen the flavor of the figs. You want this stuff to taste like figs. Now back in the day, and I mean like 2 years ago, they would put a little recipe booklet inside each one of these Sure Gel packs. They don't anymore, and they tell you to go on their website. Well, if you go on their website, you can't find their fig jelly recipe anywhere. And I messed up and I didn't save that little pack of that recipe brochure that comes inside of here. So the other day when I went to make jelly, I was looking around trying to find the recipe. Thankfully I found some guy online on Reddit who had posted a screenshot of the card. I took that, wrote it all down so I would have it for future use. So no more recipe cards or booklets inside here, but I do have the recipe written down on our website now on the recipe blog at lazydogfarm.com, so you can see it there. Now it's important to note your jelly will be a different color depending on the type of figs you use in your jelly. So this Berry Blast that we made for Abram, we used all dark berry figs for this jelly here. So we used Salem Dark, Marseille Black, Malta Black, and Dark Portuguese figs in this one, and that's how we've got that beautiful purple, dark red purple color. Just beautiful, beautiful jelly there. And then for Titus's Honey Rush here, we used all honey figs. That's why this is a lot lighter than this. So this was mostly LSU Golds. We did have a few Marseille white figs, a smaller honey fig that we added in there as well. So honey fig versus berry fig. And then if you use mostly sugar figs or just mix a bunch of different types of figs together, you'll probably get more of a brown jelly like this one in the middle. This is a mixed fig jelly we made last year, just a bunch of different varieties. So could end up kind of brown like that. If you pick all berry figs, you can get this beautiful color, or all honey figs give you this beautiful yellow color here too. So we almost always just use the whole fig minus the stem for the jellies, except with these light berry figs like the Canadria that I've showed you many times, like that Stella fig I showed you earlier, or like this Brooklyn White that I just went and grabbed. A lot of these have a green or yellow outside, but a nice bright pink inside. So on a lot of these, if I'm wanting more of a pink red jelly, what I'll do is I'll just scoop these out and I won't add the skins in there, won't get that green or yellow color. For some of you that may not matter, but if you want a nice bright jelly and you have these types of figs, just scoop them out, don't throw the skins in there. So the color may or may not matter to you. This fig jam right here tastes just as good as this fig jam right here, but this fig jam is a lot prettier than this right here is. So I hope you enjoyed the video today, and if you recall our last fig video, I showed you how to do a green midsummer propagation. So this was started not even a week ago, and look at there, we've already got little buds on this rascal right here. So if you want to learn how to do this, watch this video right here. We'll walk you through the simple and easy steps to do propagation in the summer. So check that out, and we'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.